Hello, everyone. Peace be with you. It is a week away from summertime, and it's a time of invitations to birthday parties and graduation celebrations and weddings and all sorts of wonderful things. And for the ethical vegan, it is a time of discernment. I was asked to help someone the other day formulate how to decide about attending an event. And then I was on social media later and I saw two very similar scenarios for people that also were seeking answers or support or guidance. So I thought I would make this public and just share the process with you. So, first of all, let me give you the example. This person was invited to a celebration for a child by family members, and they explained to the family members that it was really against their ethical belief to attend something where there was a pit roasted creature, and the parents in return called them childish and selfish. So let's just tear it apart into 3 steps. The first step is the invitation itself. When we are invited to an event or celebration or whatever, there's usually basically an acceptance response no matter how we proceed. If we decline, the person will say, sorry, you can't come. If we accept, oh, we're excited you're coming. But in this case, when the person shared their concern about coming, the people didn't respond well with we understand. They instead tried to shame the person into coming. So as an observer, to me, that says that the people that are making this invitation have a desire for the ethical vegan to be in attendance. And that we need to hang on to. So the next step or layer of this to consider is what inviting people means to them. Are they the quota type people where they want a certain number there? Or are they more intimate inviters where the number of adults that they allow to interact with their child would be much smaller? And there's a secondary layer to this intimate group. Is it an intimate group because the child is sick, or maybe the child has been abused and they greatly limit healthy people, healthy adults that they want around their child? And the third category would fall into like the mixed bag, where the people aren't really quota seekers and there's no level of desired intimacy, and there's no health issue and there's no abuse issue. So we weigh what is actually going on, right? So first, looking at the response of the individual, and secondly, looking at the dynamics of the invitations. And the third level is what is actually going on at this event, and how strong does it go against everything you believe ethically? For example, maybe they're just not consciously aware of the environment and everything is on plastics and things that hurt creatures, right? But they're offering vegan fare. Is it a situation where it's mixed, part vegan, part flesh and animal secretions? Is it all flesh and animal secretions without any layer of vegan consideration for the creatures and the attendees? Or is it an outright situation like this where they're not only serving flesh, but they want the body of the creature displayed because they feel like it is something wonderful? So, based on all of this information, then you can make discernment and stay in prayer and really think about what this means. And ultimately, you'll come up with either you're going or you're not. And after you decide that, you can formulate ways to share your response back. So now I'll share my personal beliefs. I would decline the quota event for almost any infraction, right, of what I believe my ethical stance is, because meeting someone's quota is not important to me. In the mixed bag case, I would have to weigh it much more carefully. If they are vegan friendly and not displaying the body of a creature, if they're offering vegan options, if they have compassion, even though they might not yet be vegan, then if it's in an intimate setting where there's just a few adults, I would potentially go. I would lean strongly toward going if the child was sick and or abused, and they were being very careful about the adults invited into this, because one, that child has an immediate need, right? It needs either safe adults or it is very, I'm calling a child it, but I don't want to use gender right now. Or the child is very ill and may not grow up to see what an ethical stance means, right? I would lovingly go to a sick child that wasn't going to grow up and just completely avoid the horrendous thing that the adults had chose to do. I think those are the best examples I can give you of my own choices. Now let's talk about formulating a response. If you're not going, but it's a more complicated situation, I would always take the stance of love and compassion. Love for the celebrant, love for the family and or friends, and love for the creatures, and the desire to respect my own integrity. So I might say something like, I love Johnny so much, and I'm going to provide a beautiful birthday present or whatever present. And the other present I want to give him is my integrity. And the best way I can do that is by holding on to my stance. I don't want to be here around a roasted animal body when Johnny knows I am an ethical vegan, because someday he'll grow up and know that I didn't stand up for what I believed in. I would rather have Johnny see me stand up. I would rather give him my integrity as a gift. And we can always do something at another time together to celebrate his birthday that doesn't involve roasted animal bodies. And you can just frame this so many ways. And I feel like the example I just gave was probably a poor example. You could easily say hundreds of different things. So I think the elements of what you say, if you want to formulate that too, obviously loving to the celebrant, loving to the inviters, loving to the creatures, and respectful of yourself, standing up with integrity without any shame or guilt. You're not childish. You're certainly not selfish. This is a hard ethical decision that is being made. And if you decide to go to, I think that also deserves more than an RSVP of yes. To share with the adults, it might not be appropriate to share this with the child depending upon their age, but to share with the adults why you have chosen to do something that you're so uncomfortable with, and to let them know that it is not something that you are planning to do for a repeated scenario over and over again, and ask them next year if they might consider your stance and be more accommodating and more considerate. So it could be used as a negotiating tool, right? Because, I mean, so many of us just want all this horrific suffering and torture and torment and killing of the creatures to immediately stop. And yet we find ourselves in these complex ethical situations where sometimes a compromise on our behalf, which is often very uncomfortable, can lead into a longer term change on their side. But we have to make sure to do it carefully and without violating our own ethics. So I hope what I have shared helps. There are so many ways that this could be formulated, but it helps if you break it up into little sections and think about each section, and then put it together as a larger whole, and then formulate not only your answer and your commitment to yourself and to the creatures and to the humans involved, but also to feel strong and confident in that response, knowing that you are not out to people please, and knowing that they may still have a very negative response themselves, but their response is not your goal. It's also not your responsibility. Being true to yourself, being true to the creatures, and being loving to the celebrants is what is needed in this case. And peace be with you.